I learned so much about the aquarium hobby just catching, just being there. So this is the map. It's the eastern part of South America. It's a great country. I really love it. Much safer now than it was 2 decades ago. People are great. Very little crime. Of course, we were guides and we were in the right area. I went there. Here's a few facts. The population is about 30 million. It's Spanish with Indian dialect, the Guchina dialect. And the money is pretty sad. It's a pretty poor country. About $1,400 a year when we were there. And it's the Peruvian sola. That's the cast of characters. The one on the left is Lance. He's the guy. What's his last name? Lance Peck. That's me. That's
Jack, excuse me, this is a public service announcement. You have to take it away. Does anybody want their buns toasted? I can put the hamburger buns on the grill.
Pretty ominous.
Yeah, that's right. Or you can whichever one you prefer. But if you just want regular, fine. If you want them toasted, somebody tell me how many, because I'm getting ready to do that stuff. Okay, hang on.
And anyway, this was the guy in the wreck was my sponsor, and it was a lot of fun. This is show you where that's our casa. That's where we stay. I went in 2013 with 2 buddies, Dave Hammerlein and Rick Ivick. And in 2016 I went alone because I wanted to go during the rainy season to collect animals. So they had, the guy who took it over, Michael Barber, had really done a good job of updating it. Our first tour guide wasn't the greatest. He was kind of sloppy and he was a little bit spread between too many things. He was trying to do too many things at once, including tourism. Poor guy passed away down there during COVID. So I won't say too much about him. His name was Brian Perkins. Nice guy, but just not a very good businessman. We didn't have the greatest experience with him. The collecting was fantastic. I can't say enough about it. So that was the kitchen. This is the bedroom. It's a great little place. And this is the fish room. All around here, you see all these tanks. They all contain killifish and other fish that we collected. And when Barber took it over with a guy from England, they really did a good job of pouring concrete, cleaning up the tanks. The whole fish room was just really redone. And he really did a great job. I had a much better time the second time, even though my buddies weren't there with me.
Jack, is this something that, that they just do all the time? I mean, with all those tanks set up and everything?
Pardon?
Is this set up like this all the time?
Yeah, it's permanent.
Really?
So they have, the 2 partners have split since then.
Yeah.
But the Ian Fuller, the other partner who specializes in catfish, is still doing these tours, and he still has that place.
So they have a different group in every couple of weeks, or
they have 3 or 4 a year.
Oh, okay.
Ian lives in England. Barber lives in Washington, but he no longer works with Ian. They had a falling out. Michael is kind of hot-tempered, and I don't know what happened there. But after I was there, they had a little bit of a falling out. I don't think it had anything to do with me, but I was there with Michael. This is us getting ready for our first collecting trip. Now, what I'm showing you is 2016, but I'll flash back to 2013 when I did my summer trip. This is the winter trip, and it's a rainy season. And this is when I really wanted to go, because I wanted to collect South American animals, and you'll see why in a little bit. We're looking for temporary pools in the rainforest. This is what they look like. You can hardly see them. And that's Michael and myself. Michael Barber is his name.
So you say you went in the winter. What was the temperature like?
75 and rainy. I mean, I stood in the rain. My brain initially said, "Oh Jesus, it's raining. I've got to get some shelter." Well, after about 2 times, you realize wet doesn't hurt you. especially when it's warm
And you can
warm
only
and
get
wet. So I
so
just,
wet.
grew up my arms, I said, this is part of it, part of the experience. So I'm in the blue and Mike's in the, he goes by Michael, he hates Mike. Mike's in the white. And we're going to our first pond. And these are temporary water sources. They disappeared during the summer, which is, the winter months on our side of the equator. That's the water source. You can hardly see it sometimes. And anyway, I'm fishing with a net, which was also my cane. Let's get it. And I'm looking, I've got my first catch there. And there it is. Looks like nothing here. Wait till you see what happens when Gary Lane does his magic back home.
Huge.
There it is. That's Moema rubrocaudatus. And I love this fish. It's absolutely gorgeous. We caught more of these than anything. This one had a little bit of his upper extension nicked off. This is what they look like. And they're phenomenal fish. They're what's called a diver. You have a tall deli glass and they dive completely. The only thing you can see is their tail or sometimes just the tip of their head. They dive completely into the mixture. It's, again, peat moss and core. Only I don't use the bricks, I use the Eco Earth, the big bags, because they're sterile and it's a finer core, so it makes it easier for these guys to die. 6-month egg, and they're very easy to raise when you hatch them. It's a big egg and it's a big fish, they can take brine shrimp immediately. Whoops, I screwed up here, I'm sorry. Let me start here again. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to work on this.
Okay.
Here is Felix. He's our guide, our second guide collecting at Sabaloyo. I caught a fish that I couldn't identify there. It's not as attractive as the rubrocaudatus, but it's unnamed. I could have named it if I'd had a good ichthyologist with me. You see the caudal fin? It's like a spade. It looks something like rubrocaudatus. You'll notice it's got the orange at the bottom of the tail, but it's a spade tail. It doesn't have any extensions. And this is what I caught at the second, at Sabaloyo with the second temporary water source. Now when I say temporary, these water sources dry up during the dry season, and you walk on them. They're as hard as, hard-packed clay. And you would have no indication except for the indentation that there was ever water there.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did you sample any of the actual soil to determine what it's made of? Thinking in terms of Nothabranchus,
Sure.
in Africa, where you can draw maps based upon the nature of the soil where they have fish. And I was just wondering whether that soil that had fish in Nothabranchus matches up with the sort of soil in...
I would doubt it, because the Nathos are not in heavily wooded areas. This is in the rainforest. They're in open terrain, more of a savanna. And also, they have the advantage, Brian is a professor of geology to begin with, and he did a very extensive study of the type of earth you're dealing with in the savanna where the Nathos are in Tanzania. We didn't have that advantage. We don't have a geologist analyzing this stuff. This is very poor soil. The root system in the trees, although they're very big, most of the roots are above ground. And it is very, very poor quality soil. You can raise a few things there like yams and bananas and lemons, which are a cross between a lemon and an orange. You can't raise a great deal of crops there.
I was just curious.
Yeah. So my suspicion is it's very low, very infertile type of environment. But it's still the same principle. They bury their eggs. It becomes completely dry. The next rainy season, which is the winter, the rains come, the Isuekus, the Amazonas Indians say it rains fishes in their native language. They actually believe the fish come from the heavens. Even the shaman whose land we were, I'll introduce you to him in a minute. He believes that God sends these fishes are the gods. Their quote, first religion is Christianity, but it's not really, deep in their hearts. He's a shaman, he's a magic healer, and they truly believe in it. Pardon?
You can see the same thing in Hawaii.
Yeah. And in the far west, in Arizona, among the Hopi and the Navajo. Okay, so this is a comparison of the two fish, and you can see the difference. The colors are very similar, but you don't see an orange margin on that unidentified fish, where it's clearly, there's an orange margin on both sides of the bottle on Rubra caudatus.
You also have different dorsal fin shapes,
Yeah,
possibly different fin rays.
you don't have the extensions. This is another unidentified one. It's blue, looks very much like Rubra caudatus, but the color pattern, totally different. I'll go back for a second. There you are. See, take a look at the Rubra caudatus. Now let me go flash over to the blue one. Basically, these are two, this one and this one are two unidentified fish. If I were to take a taxonomist with me, it would be very interesting, because I'd love to identify these. I'd also get my name on it, which is a big ego. But we could never arrange a time. One thing that was interesting in the winter is there were some gorgeous mushrooms. I'm also a mycologist. I love mushrooms. And there were some absolutely gorgeous ones here. And I don't have any names, unfortunately. The medicine man was very excited, the shaman, because he uses a lot of these in cures. He wanted to cure my cough, I wouldn't let him.
Have you climbed the trees?
Yeah, this is one that actually holds water. This is a mushroom that holds water and breeds all sorts of insects in it. I didn't see any dendrobatals while I was there, but a ton of insects in these cups. Even a little spider was breathing in there. There we go. And this is a tree mushroom similar to the feathered mushrooms that we have from rotting trees in this country. Okay, and that's us looking at some vines, parasitic vines, on one of those magnificent tall trees. Oh, and here, let me see. This is what I was talking about. You see how the roots are mostly above the ground? It's a very, very poor soil. But these trees have a tremendous hold on the ground when they get knocked over. When they don't usually get knocked over, they die at a certain age, 50, 100 years. It creates an opening in the canopy, and you get all sorts of new vegetation. And there was a great biologist in this country, Wilson, E.R. Wilson, who did a fantastic study of this. It's called The Diversity of Life. He wrote it for laymen rather than biologists. His most famous books are about ants. But Wilson, E.R. Wilson is his name. He did a great book on the rainforest and the diversity of life. And he says when these trees fall, you create an opening in the canopy of the rainforest in South America, and you create the opportunity for all sorts of new life forms to develop there, to migrate there. And really interesting discussion of it. And it reinforced it when I got to see all of this. This is a turkey something mushroom. They have that in this country, in more northern times. This is me walking with my walking stick, which was my net. I'm getting to be old, and I'm not as sure-footed as I was, and it's very easy to trip over these lines. These are mushrooms again, but they look like sticks, and they grow out of rotting trees. And I was fascinated with the mushrooms. Now I'm going to give you an address real quick, and I'll skip right over it. Okay, this is the pond plants. This is the first day, and we have a whole bag of rubriculatus here. Had a very good collection of them. They were going to come back and bite me on the ass because this is the majority of what we collected. To the point where we were catching and releasing because I couldn't take that many home. And I was wanting to catch other stuff very badly. But the rubriculatus kept showing up in the nets. Here, let's go back a little bit. I'm sorry, this is taking forever. This is a close-up picture of the rubriculatus with, my wife says, a very dumb expression on my face.
So how'd you go about finding places to collect fish? Like, you obviously had guides, but like... was
Yeah,
there
the guides knew it. Lance knew this area very well. He knew all the water sources. This is on the way to Roberto, who's the shaman. It's on the way to his casa. On the way to his cabra, what do they call a piece of rainforest? Not a casa, that's his home. I'll find it in a minute. Lance knew the water sources and he knew where to get everything. Okay, here we're going to a chakra. That's what they call the piece of rainforest that Roberto owns. Roberto is an Iso Echo. He's an Amazon Indian, and he's a shaman. He's a trained doctor in their culture. He's like the doctor, you know, the medicine men among the Hopi and the Navajo. Only probably a much older culture. He was a really neat guy. This is his chakra. That's his cabin where he and his wife and grandchildren live. That's his Peru, his dog, Paro. And then he had a pet pig walking around who he hadn't butchered yet. And the pet pig was making friends like Reba's been doing here. That's Roberto. This is an incredible thing. This mud hole. Now this is in our previous trip in 2023, or 2013. I'm sorry. And it was summer there, which is October here. That mud hole is 2.5 feet wide and about 5 feet long, and it's about this deep. Well, watch this. This is Roberto. Let me go back. You can see here, but I have a list. There we go. Talking hatchet fish, splash tetras, manicas. There were a ton of them, monicas. The banjo cats with babies on their back. Collect these, you know, they swim up your urethra, blah, blah, blah. The haplosternums, I still have one. 8 years later, I still have one of those haplosternums swimming in my big tank. He's huge. The knife fish were the melanista kind of red ones, the youngsters. They get more color as they get older. They were gorgeous, but they're impossible to ship. They don't do well in poly bags, and they don't do well when you ship them. So unfortunately, we didn't do as well as them, with them. Every dip of that net brought up a ton of these guys. It was so incredible. So we called that the glory hole. And it was a mud hole, a couple of feet wide and a couple of feet deep.
You weren't digging out with a shovel?
Pardon? Yeah, literally. And if you look closely, you're going to be able to identify some things there.
There's a pistol.
There's a light blue episto at the bottom right, that's correct. And we caught a lot of those at Casa Quibada, Cheesequake Creek. There's the parasitic catfish I told you. Everybody knows the story. They're swimming up the urethra. I think it's more myth than anything.
You didn't bring any of those home?
Did not. He really messed us up. about 70% of what we brought back the first time was DOA, when they got to Chicago and we unpacked them. And we lost them in Jolene, and it made me sick. Gorgeous banjo cats, we did bring a few of those back. We caught a lot of them at Roberto's Chocolate that had babies on their back. They were really cool.
No, I'm just looking at this.
These are not the
I
best
love my
pictures, by the way. There's Caliptes.
That's like, where you, the things you often.
Another catfish. There's Corey. That's Bilineatus, which is the wrong name, I'm sure. The guy from England is a catfish specialist, and he gave me a number on it, but it's not Bilineatus gold. 7 years later, they're still in my tank. I've lost one of them. I've got about 7 in there, plus 1.5 low sternum. They're still alive and well. There's a tetra, Monica, or Monica, they call it. Really pretty.
Yes.
Not one of them survived. I should say they survived while they were there,
Yes.
but he waited a couple of weeks to pack after they were packed to mail
Put it in
them,
the sink in here.
and 80% of their stuff was dead.
Put it right here.
We were all living. We were furious with Brian. Now the second time, Michael Barber and Lance Peck packed my fish and sent them back. 100 fish they sent back. I lost one. One farewell had died. And I mean, so it can be done properly. It just didn't happen with Brian Perkins. That's a temporary pool. There were a lot of rubricaudatus and one pair of my target fish called Moima Queen. And I'll show that to you a little later if we have time. It's the fish I was after. It's a big fish. It's the size of a full-grown blue Polaris. Absolutely magnificent, but unfortunately they don't do it. This is called a slipper mushroom, and they appear in the rainy season, and they're typically either green or red. I just call them with the various names. Let's see if I can get ahead of this. This is another slipper. I call it species 9. It's right here. Many juvenile rubricaudatus here, which indicates that the pond had dried up even in the rainy season, and then it re-wetted, and there was whole new hatchlings. So we didn't get any of these. We just left them where we were. This is a mushroom that's growing, or not a mushroom. I thought it was a mushroom. Roberto said it's a medicinal plant that he crushes with mortar and pestle, and he uses it for coughs and colds. I wasn't going to trust his stuff. I'm sure he's very good with his own people, but I wasn't going to. He wanted to give me some. That's going away from this chocolate, going up. This is the Rio Madre de Dios. And there's a long story about this. It's kind of a dead river because they're doing illegal logging there, and there's a tremendous amount of erosion, and they're doing illegal gold mining.
Yeah, that really does.
And the mercury is killing the water.
Mercury and,
Yeah, so I did see the caimans there, and the little, the little alligators, or crocodiles. Did not see one of the fish
they go in
in the
there.
water. This is about, this next one, HH2, or HIH2, is 4 kilometers from Puerto Maldonado where we were staying. And this is where I got my first rivulus. This is Beniensis. It's not a real colorful one, but it is neat. It's got some gorgeous green on it. And I still have it, 5 years later. Or wait a minute, 2016.
Have you successfully bred
7
it?
years later. Pardon?
Have you successfully bred it, or is that?
I successfully bred it, but I've distributed them all. I only got males.
Okay, I'm just.
I haven't worked actively to maintain these.
Right, I was just curious.
Yeah, and unfortunately the annuals, which is the other thing I was collecting, they tend to peter out in about 3 generations. So I did get F2 and F3. After F3 I got all boys. And I was finished, That was the end for all 3 of them. All 3 of the annuals that I brought back. On the first trip, in 2013, we caught one annual. Oh, there's that lulingi somebody was talking about. I think it was you, Jesse. They're very pretty. Not the neatest of the apistas I've seen there, but they're very pretty.
Yeah,
I got this at Cheesequake Creek.
we've been finding that for like 3 years.
Yeah. This is us changing after a trip. Or no, I think we're preparing for a trip. So, let me, okay, that's everybody's favorite floating plant. What is it?
Duckweed.
You betcha. You betcha. So deep in the forest. It took us about 20 minutes to walk down to this water source. And Lance said, "Oh, you'll do fantastic here." Well, I did. I caught all sorts of fish. Every damn one of them was a rubro caudatus.
Hey, Jack,
Yeah.
can I cut in? We take a break, get our food and come back for this presentation?
Oh, sure.
It's ready.
Sure. We can actually.
This
cut it
one
off.
wasn't on the schedule, but we want to see it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Jack, yes.
Oh.
You missed it, it started at 2:15 and you missed it.
You didn't realize that when we got up this
2:15
morning?
You didn't realize it at 2:50?
AM.
You're lucky.
AM.
AM, Jack.
Oh,
He
I was sleeping like a little baby.
Good for you, excellent.
He didn't wake us up either. I was like going,
Well, I'm
then I
glad-
think
I'm glad we
you
didn't,
that came
'cause we
over
were
this
here
morning at
dropping
5?
Yeah.
I didn't even hear the door, so I'm like, okay, we're good.
Good, excellent, okay. But we'll have some snacks tomorrow because we have lots of leftovers. And
Great.
thank you, everybody, for bringing stuff and contributing. This is
Yeah, this is
beyond what we
really
thought.
great.
This is great, okay? And then bring lots of cash tomorrow, please. Lots and lots of cash. Lots of cash. All right, Jack, go for it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
So we know that I went deep dark into the jungle to a pond where I was all excited, and I got more rubro caudatus. And that's where we stopped. So,
Jack,
okay.
you want me to drive for you while you want to stand up, and you want me to push the slides while
Oh,
you stand up?
yeah,
It's up to you,
absolutely.
whatever you want to do. I just,
That would be great. I can
I
stand
wonder
here.
if the little arrow buttons won't work.
It gives you a little trouble, but anyway, this is Cheesequake Creek.
We
She's tired.
Quebrado Quesa, and it was gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. And the water is only about 2 feet deep there. I went, well, this is summer of 2013. Their summer, October. And it was perfect. I went back there, it was up to my neck when in 2016, because it was the middle of winter. And, you know, the water was high. Okay, so this is gorgeous creek, and we got everything imaginable there, but I concentrated strictly on Achilles, except for one fish. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Go ahead. All right. Oh, okay. This is a plico, and really nice. Now, he didn't get stuck. I thought sure it was going to jam a fin into him, and that's Dave Hammerline. And he had no problem. Anyway, okay. This is everything we caught. Caught one piranha. Nobody got bit. The crucicola. Well, you can read them. I love the farewellas. I wish those had survived. I got one home alive. Everything else died. All my knife fish died on the way home. The whiptails were beautiful. There were so many incredible fish. There was a red ancestris that was to die for. Some gorgeous, the banjo cats, and some beautiful little, I'll think of it in a second. Little lemon, God, you better go. I'll see it in a second. Anyway, these are pictures of some of them. And they're really nice. Those are now that's the adult knife fish. This is the pink one, which is a juvenile. And those are the ones we really hope to save and get back. But they don't travel well. It wasn't really Brian Perkins' fault. And so we didn't get back any alive. He even wrote me an email and said, "Jack, I'm sorry all of them died, but you'll have the rest of the fish next week." Well, what we got was 70% dead fish. Okay, go ahead. The tetras, that's what I was thinking of, the lemon tetras. There were some gorgeous tetras. 4 or 5 different species, and really nice. Great ancestris, a red ancestris, that actually did come through alive. And I got 2 farewellas, neither one of them unfortunately survived. And then I lost a third one, the second trip.
Jack, is that Vitata, the first, the one you just had up there, is that Vitata with the snub nose?
Go 2 back, 2 frames back.
Oh, wait, wrong way.
Oh, there you go.
The sky.
There it is. With the snub nose, I can't tell you, he just called it a red ancestor.
Okay.
Okay. And Rhinocara is another catfish, similar to whiptail. We got several quarries, and had we had the other owner of Go Wild Peru, he would have been able to identify them, the English gentleman, Ian Fuller. He's very knowledgeable. He's one of the most knowledgeable quarry people I know. So, okay. And that, I think, is Lineatus. These are not great pictures, by the way. Oh, I made a new friend while I was there. He was hanging on the spigot of the shower. We decided to call him Roberto, not after our guide in the forest, but after Bob in the movie Arachnophobia. Does anybody remember that movie? So Bob was the big spider, right? So this is Roberto. Meet Roberto. The first night, let me tell you, before I talk about this gorgeous place, let me tell you about Roberto. First night, he was on the spigot, hanging there. Fine. I get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. He's walking across the floor. My brain says, he's got to earn a living. Next day, we're close to going home. I'm sitting on my mattress. We didn't have beds, just mattresses. Arranging my suitcase. I happen to look out of the corner of the eye. Roberto is walking across my bed. So
He's looking for
I went and got
passport around the
Brian,
country.
and I said, Roberto thinks he's my oldest and dearest friend. He's walking across my bed. So Brian found him, picked him up with a broom, walked outside, and at this little Thai restaurant at the end of the lane, there was a bus stop with tourists. The tourists were all inside getting their Thai food. He dropped Roberto on the bus and came back.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was Roberto. Now, the last night we were there, we got to see a true tropical storm. I mean, everything exploded. We saw some giant, and I mean, they put Roberto to shame. Saw some giant tarantulas in the casa. Anyway, my friend Rick Ivick says, "Hey, I'm packing, would you get my boots over there?" I said, sure, I'll be glad to, Rick. I picked him up, monster this big. He was bigger than my dog. Could have carried me off. He was under there, and Rick and Dave were cracking up. Okay, so this is San Francisco Assisi, and it was another gorgeous stream. Go ahead, there's something funny that happens here. This is the mango knife fish. We call them mango because they have a pink color on them. Very pretty. These are small rivulets, which we never did identify. He didn't get any of these home for us back in Portland.
Did you bring it or just here for all?
This is a variety of tetras that we caught. I love it. We did get it home, and I gave it to my friend Mike Keller, and he was successful. That's the
Wait, Jack, where is this? Is this Peru?
This is in Peru, yeah, in southwestern Peru, about 50 kilometers from the Bolivian border. It's a town called Puerto Maldonado, and it's gorgeous. This is a nice sibling. Not very colorful, but it was neat, you know? I would love to have gotten them home.
Is it a Sevrum?
Pardon?
Was it a Sevrum?
Might have been. I don't know my cichlids like I should, especially in the New World ones. If you show me something from Lake Victoria, I can generally tell you. Not New World. If it's not an epistogram, I don't know. Yeah. That's another mango.
Those are nice. I haven't seen them.
That's me in the weeds at the water source. The other guys were in the deep water collecting. I was after Achilles. So here's what happened. I see a big fish, and with my bucket of Achilles, I said, hey, he might eat those. That's not good. Well, I didn't have a hand net because Brian didn't provide any. I reached in to pick them up. Yeah, He ended up right here. So that's the dust-defying bite. He was a wolffish, and he was like this big. Hurt? Oh my God, they're like little needles. And I opened my hand to let him go, and he was still hanging on. And the guys were, I thought they were going to fall in the water and laugh. So anyway, this is the new trip. This is 2016 trip. These are the Andes foothills. And I was up there to catch a rivulus. It's called Christine. And believe it or not, that's the pond. Now it doesn't look like anything here. When my guide saw it, he wanted it. He wanted everyone I had caught, and I said, you know, I'm sorry, Michael, but I really want to take these home. The guys are going to love them. So show Gary Lang's picture. That's it. That's the rivulus that I caught. It was so good. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I got 2 generations out of them before they peeled out. Well, I think I was over generous. Too many people wanted them. And you know, you have people owe you, you owe people, so I was too generous with them. I wish I had this one still. Because some of those 2016 fish I still have, but not this guy anymore. So anyway, that's this is the 5th day. It's the most important day. Oh no, the 2nd most important day of the trip. There's a very rare annual fish. It's another moema. It was discovered and named by an Italian hobbyist, and it's called Kenwood. And I'm not sure who he named it after, but that's Felix collecting it, and I collected some too. We went to one of the very rare water sources where this thing was available. Lance, my main guide, was the only one who knew it. Anyway, show him the picture of this fish. It's really neat. Similar to that one that was unnamed, but you can see the orange has become yellow. So this is actually a new species. And the vertical line scales are yellow. They were not in that other one that I showed you, the unnamed one, they were orange. But you see the same spade tail with maybe just a little bit of an extension. I get home, I publish my article in JACA. I immediately got an email from Italy that said, oh my God, send me the fish, send me eggs, I gotta have it back. He said, I wrote the guy who found this. He had it for exactly 2 months and then it died.
Oh
no. It was a shame. So I tried to distribute them, but within 2 years they were gone. You know, I tried to get them out there. It's a shame. It's not the neatest of the moemas, but it was a new one. It was a rare one and it broke my heart. Not near as much as the next one I'm going to show you. This is another Rivulus Christina from the lowlands. I still have one of the males, 5-6 years later, and it's beautiful, I mean breathtaking.
Sorry, Jack.
But I wish I was, yeah, try to keep it down.
Doing your best.
Yeah. Anyway, he looks a little hollow belly there, but he was newly caught. He blossomed, and I have a lot of reproduction from those guys. So there I am on the 6th day, which is the day before I left. This is the magic day. 2 days before I left. If I look like I'm wearing weird pants, I'm wearing rainproof cargo pants, and I keep hanging down and clone them up. You know. Would have showed it to God. There it is. That's Moema Kui. Kui means little hummingbird. It's an Iso-Eku word. Roberto, our shaman, named it after Lance Peck's wife. He called her Little Hummingbird.
Oh, really?
So this is Moema Kui. And I got it back. Gary Lang took the pictures. They are incredible. I had 3 generations, F1, F2, F3. F3 was all males, and I was done. But I was told I did well, because at most people get 2 generations out of an F1 and an F2. I got eggs almost immediately, and I was thrilled. And 6 months later, I was in the fish business, and I had them for 2 years. If you go on my Facebook page, you know, with Lucas Spreads, you'll still see the last of these, because that was 3 years later. I had 1 male left, and it broke my heart, but I knew it was going to happen. That's Mom. And I had, it was perfect. I had 3 males and 2 females. That's a close-up. And Gary did a great job on this.
Just, that picture, the detail is just
Yeah.
amazing.
He hung over my hand. He was so big.
Goodness gracious, well, there you go.
Yeah, oh, and this is the Rubro caudatus from the semi-temporary pool. I probably caught 100 of these. We caught 4 of the moving quees. And then Roberto showed up at the casa the next day. We had loaned him a net. He brought one that was like this.
Oh,
We'll see if Gary, I think what Gary did was he took a foot-long measuring stick, you know, your ruler. He laid it against the photo tank to show how big it is. There it is. That guy was 5 inches. Oh, it shows him as 4 there, but he was 5 inches when he died. But, yeah, Gary did a really incredible. I give him a lot of grief, but he's a fantastic photographer.
Yeah, he's done a very fantastic job on those.
Yeah, the detail is just unbelievable. I tried to do this with my telephone, you know, my telephone camera. You know, first of all, it only has 1 flash. You need 2. And second of all, you need a world of patience.
Yeah. Was he using 2 flashes?
He was using 2 flashes. One was on the camera, which he had a hand mount.
Okay.
And he's very meticulous.
Yeah.
And the other was out here.
Yeah.
And I have 3 special tanks. They're 2-gallon glass tanks. They're not critter keepers with lids. And what he has done for me is he cut a slot both sides of the frame, you know, at the top. And we slipped a 3rd piece of glass down.
That's kind of like what.
So what you're seeing, the plants are behind the glass, and the queen is in front of the glass. And you don't see any reflection there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit where that central plant is, but it's almost a perfect picture. And every picture he takes 5 or 6, and he weeds out 5 of them.
Oh, yeah.
So what you get is the best picture. Then he emailed me these pictures in my drug truck. I just couldn't believe it.
Has he ever written an article of how he does that?
Everybody knows how he does it. He's been pretty widely distributed. Fish photography, I don't know any peer. Maybe the Pearsons in Sweden are as good as him. I haven't seen anybody better. The Pearsons, I think, is it Anita or her husband that's a great photographer?
I think it's Anita is the photographer, I think, because it always says Alf and Anita Pearson.
Yeah, is he the hobbyist or?
I believe so. I think they both actually were hobbyists. I think he's in charge of the fish park. I think.
Oh, okay. You think it's Anita who's the
fish photo? I think so.
She's a peer for Gary. She's as fine as he is.
Oh, she's excellent.
Oh,
you go to their website. They got beautiful pics.
And we have one more photographer that we're blessed with in this group who lives in New England, Tony Tershira, who is a grandmaster photographer. He is a superb nature photographer.
He's good enough they pay him for his pictures.
They pay him for his pictures, yeah. And he has graced the pages of Jacob now for 40 years. And he's got a book that he's written. He's rewriting it now.
Even Axelrod paid for his pics.
Yeah. Well, Axelrod I would expect to pay for his pics.
Yeah.
He
tried not to.
He didn't much care for Axelrod.
No.
But anyway, Gary is one of the finest I know. Anyway, last look at the rainforest. There's me and Michael Barber. And it was a great experience. Grateful to my wife. She bankrolled me. So I had to take her the first time. And it was fantastic. We saw Machu Picchu, we saw the Sacred Valley. We saw everything we wanted to see. And then I put her on the plane at the end of the week. And a couple of days later, my friends Dave Hammerline and Rick Ivo came in. A couple hours later. The next day we headed for Puerto Maldonado. We had a fantastic week, and this was even a better week. So, anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Jack. That's great. Good stuff.
You bet.
Hey, Jack, how do you get the fish home from a trip like
We put them in poly bags. We have an importer who's really terrific. He's in, what's the northern town?
Iquitos.
Yeah, and he ships them out from there. And an importer, in this case Michael Barber, received them in Washington, and he forwarded them to me in St. Louis along with another guy's fish. And I lost one fish out of 100. That's how well they pack them.
If you get good transporters for you, you can
Yeah.
cut your losses down big time.
Now, the first time,
Nobody cares what you say.
the first time with, I hate to keep bringing him up, but with Brian,
Yeah.
we lost more than 70% of the fish. All of the Epistos, most of the Tetras, and 90% of the killings. The catfish later, okay. But I have fish that we never caught. He had them in his tanks, and he figured, well, I killed these fish, I'll give him these. So we never even caught that Cory Dorset Lineatus. But 7 years later, they're still in my tank. So is a big haplo, you know, butt ugly. He's still there. He's like this now. I had to pull him out the other night. So anyway, that's the story.
Jack, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, quick schedule announcement. We'll get rid of some housekeeping until about 5:10, till about 5:30.